Hey guys, how you going? Welcome to the Positive Experience podcast, where we look at the good, the bad and the ugly in living your best life. Today's segment is called In the Trenches, where we look behind the scenes at what's happening in the clinic. Howdy guys, thanks for joining us on the Positive Experience podcast. Today's segment is on the trenches, the in-house clinic chat. And today got my good friend Mike. Hey Mike, how are you?
Good, Lucky. How you going?
Good man, good man. So today we're going to review a blog post that Mike had put together very recently. So just click on the link below and it will take you right there, and it can give you a reference point for what we're going to talk about. And the context of our chat today will be about low back pain. Okay, so take it away, Mike. Tell us a bit about your blog post.
Yeah, so when I was thinking about the blog post, I was more delving into how to address rest when it comes to lower back pain. I think before even entering the world of physiotherapy, I always thought, surely it's a good thing to just rest when I'm experiencing something going on in the lower back. So I thought I'd tackle this with a real life example with our hypothetical character, Adam here. So Adam being someone that works at a local bakery, just doing his thing, making sweets and bread and whatnot, and then obviously going into his shift kind of towards the later end of it, probably rushing or whatnot, tends to grab a heavy tray and might just twist awkwardly. And it's kind of in those moments when you have a bit of a brain fog that those injuries kind of come on. So we just want to explore what is Adam to do. And I thought maybe it'd be a good idea for you to explore something similar within your practice when someone has experienced this, and kind of how should they tackle rest when it comes to this topic.
Yeah, look, that's a great point. So we see a lot of, say, work cover related injuries. So if Adam pinged his back while he's at work, the work setting is that, I think the human response is that, oh, it's not that bad. You downplay it in your own mind. I'm a tough guy. I'll see it out. And that's a very common trait that we see in the clinic, So I think it's a case by case situation, but as a general comment, I think most people downplay their pains. It's usually when it starts to slow them down the next day, or something that they enjoy at home. They notice they can't cook their meals at home comfortably, they can't pick their kids up, or they can't play or sleep comfortably. That's when things escalate. So I think, coming back to your blog post, I think it's interesting that you're going into the psychology of how people think. Even though we have this this person Adam, who's a baker, we can apply this metaphor to any type of person, male or female, across any type of work setting.
Yeah. So I guess someone being in this position kind of is faced with a few options, which is, should I just go gun-ho back into what I'm doing? Should I go consult someone, which is probably the safest thing to do? Or should I just cut everything and just take a few weeks off? I guess when it comes to the last option, is there any worries in your mind when it comes to doing that?
Yeah, so if you take complete bed rest, right, that's almost one of the top two options. Either head down and slug through, or just pull up stumps and take it easy. I usually think of this in like a sporting realm. If people are athletes and they're trying to perform at their jobs, you kind of want to keep going safely, and you wouldn't be looking to have complete rest unless it's a really big, serious injury. So I think the professional opinion is really important. So with your three scenarios, I'd like to allow you to walk us through those different scenarios with us.
Right. So the three options are, so it's either returning to work as normal. That's number one. Number two is returning to work with modifications. And the last one is just use some of his annual leave and rest.
Gotcha.
So with the first one, with return to work as normal, any issues with doing that off the bat?
Yeah, massive issues. So if I was to put on my work cover goggles, and I'm thinking as a physio dealing with someone potentially having a work cover claim, I think one of the issues is making something worse. You have an initial wound. It may seem innocent and sore, but unless you put your hand up and allow yourself to have either the great advice or just a bit of a helping hand in terms of treatment, or maybe perhaps you do need rest. I think you're just wanting to understand the severity of what's going on to allow you to make the best decision. Ultimately, you're the boss. You can canvass a lot of different ideas, lots of different advice, but I think having some opinion at the very beginning, the sooner the better.
And at what point, Lecky, are you thinking maybe I should just brush this off as nothing, or perhaps it's a good time to go and see someone about this? Kind of what is the measuring stick for someone out there for them to go and get this investigated further?
Yeah, I think I don't want to get too philosophical about it, because we all manage with pain differently. But in my own personal experience, I've been one to let things go. And with my experience being a 35-year-old guy, I may be older for some people, but really young in others. I've let injuries go and I've suffered from them. So now my personal decision is anytime I get something early from my previous poor decision making efforts, I've decided to just act on it quickly. So that's my personal experience. In a professional setting, we are always about encouraging early advice and early intervention. Okay. Doesn't cost you anything. All you gotta do is put your hand up and ask someone, and maybe a colleague in the baking shop, in the mechanic shop, in the clinic, wherever you may be. Just like because if you're a baker, Adam's a baker, and I'm sure there's other people that've got war wounds in the baking shop too. So just report it, start somewhere, and then you'll find you'll get momentum. Last thing you want to do
Yeah,
is have your back blow up.
definitely. So I think that touches on to our next option, which is returning to work with some modifications. So you would agree that it's a good idea to just go and get a consultation and a second opinion from someone to see exactly what's going on, because at the end of the day, nothing is worth our health.
That's
So is there
uh,
anything else you want to add on that?
Mate, very funny you say that. This morning, I've had a mechanic guy come in, referred 1 week after pinging his back at work last week, lugging heavy stuff around. And he had continued on working as normal. Fast forward 7 days, he'd started developing worsening signs, two little kids at home, couldn't sleep, so his wife, his missus, is pretty upset with him. And that prompted him to get to work. And I gave him the advice today, after assessing him, that look, you should consider strongly making modifications at work based on our assessment today. Okay, so the value in the opinion as early as possible. And I kind of told him off in a nice way. I said, look, if we had seen you, early on, it didn't have to get this way. Okay, but because potentially it was a muscular issue you had early on, easy peasy, we can get on top of that. You've allowed it to be a disky problem. Okay, and not to get too much into the weeds here, that's the risk you run. You roll the dice like in anything, not necessarily your health, but the metaphor I use a lot is get two most of anything, two arms, two legs, two eyes. You only get one back. Stuff that up,
Right.
you're in you're in harm's way. So just I'll
Yeah,
leave you with that.
definitely. Definitely. Um, I think we've touched on it as well, but we're always told stay active, stay active, stay active. So for those out there, what's the importance of staying active when you do experience something like this?
Yeah, so there's it's a big question, it's a meaty question. We can go lots of different ways, but sticking within this example, um, if you have complete bed rest and you decondition from a muscular perspective, uh, you're a manual person, got to be strong, be capable of lifting trays in the baking shed. You got to be able to be up on your feet for a long period of time. And so it's a balancing act. And when you're unsure if this is not your primary expertise or you don't have experience with this, it's a very new injury, it's your first time sustaining this type of injury, the guidance that you have from being coached along, like you're in a sporting team, of, yeah, look, you should try and do this, or maybe you should turn that down and try this, but you're never in a sporting team, you're never at the same spot, you're always improving. So there's only very rare cases where you're encouraged to have complete bed rest, certain type of surgeries, certain type of conditions. These sorts of fresh low back injuries, we definitely promote movement and a graded return to what your normal is. Okay, hope that doesn't sound hocus pocus, but we definitely encourage movement.
Definitely. So the last option I think we've delved into a bit is to use some of his annual leave and just have a bit of rest. So we've spoken about kind of why somebody shouldn't do that. can you just delve furthermore into why someone should have a bit of bed rest? Kind of, you said kind of more serious things. Have you seen anything serious enough to merit that bed rest?
Yeah, cool. So again, keeping a big picture, Mike, I think one of the things we should consider is the mechanism of what's causing the pain. So there's two types of pain that I believe you should be tracking. Okay. There's mechanical pain. So something that's giving you pain there and then. Okay. But then as you get going, the day progresses, the pain gets less and less. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's inflammatory pain. So that's when you get problems at rest. So if you're sitting, it gets more and more irritable. If you're sleeping, it gets really sore. So if you have this mechanical pain where the more you're busy, the angrier it gets, or you have inflammatory pain where at rest it's knocking you over, those would be the two guiding stars there. So if you're noticing that your back pain is getting worse throughout the day, that would tell you what you should, that can give you some guidance on what the main do's and don'ts are. If you're all good throughout the day and then you're suffering at nighttime, there's a completely different game plan, which is why there's value in the assessment. And if after the assessment we found that you've got a pretty nasty back pain and there's safe positions of rest, and we would encourage, look, good solid 7 days of measured rest, cool. But then as soon as we can, we're going to encourage the movement because we know that's the best way to get Adam back to the normal Adam.
Definitely. So that's all the options that we've explored. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, look, coming across the blog post that you put together here, Mike, you've got your conclusion here where we're looking at low back pain has a lot of positive outcomes. You've cited a lot of references there, which is awesome. So it's all evidence-based, factual information that people can read, and you've pointed to the references. So I would just finish off our discussion today with just letting you know that back pain doesn't have to be scary. You might not know, I don't know, using other examples, you may not keep a close eye on, say, your finances. And so you're scared about one day sitting down and looking at your credit card statement. Or maybe you're a bit scared about learning how to use the computer. You're fearful of something you don't understand. Low back pain for me is one of those boogeyman sort of injuries where people are fearful of back pain. And I think if you have a service where it's broken down, it's kept simple, but we're respectful of your pain and that it's very painful for you. But if we can hold your hand and help your way through, and we can coach you through the do's and don'ts, I think we can see you to the finish line. I think those are my thoughts. Anything else to add, Mike? What do you think, big fella?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well there.
Cool. So this is officially Mike's first blog post. He's done a great job, guys. So check it out. Okay, it's a short read. It's an easy read, but very informational. And it's one of many that's going to be upcoming. Our goal as a team is to publish blog posts weekly, and we'll alternate. So you'll get to know our different writing styles, our vlogs here in the trenches. You get to know, taste, and feel of each of our team members here. And our primary goal here is to ensure that we're making healthy simple, because we're all simple creatures in the end. So we'll finish up our vlog here today, Mike. Thank you so much for your work. And for you guys at home, stay happy and healthy out there, and we'll speak to you next time. Cheers, guys. Bye.